Hi there. Welcome back to Postcard English Stories. Today we're starting a brand new series called I Study English Every Day. But I'm not improving sound familiar. If you've ever felt stuck like you're working hard but going nowhere, this episode is for you. Let me tell you a story. A few weeks ago I met a learner named Mai. She told me I study English every single day. 30 minutes in the morning, an hour in the evening. I watch videos, do exercises, and I've been doing this for months. Then she paused and said quietly, "But when I meet a foreigner, I can't say a word. I panic. I feel like everything I learned disappears." She looked frustrated. She wasn't lazy. She wasn't a beginner. She was doing all the right things. And still felt stuck. And I hear this story all the time. So, what's going on? Why do so many people study English every day but still feel like they're not improving? Well, here's the first reason. You're learning English, but you're not using it. Let's break that down. Think about this. Imagine you wanted to learn how to swim. You read books about swimming. You watched videos of swimmers. You even memorized all the techniques. But you never got into the pool. Would you actually know how to swim? Of course not. Because swimming isn't something you learn by watching, it's something you learn by doing, and English is the same. You see, many learners spend all their time consuming English, watching videos, reading texts, doing grammar exercises, memorizing vocabulary. These are all useful, but they're input activities. You take in information. What's missing? Output. Speaking, writing, using what you learned. Without output, the knowledge stays stuck in your brain, and it never becomes skill. It's like training your muscles by watching other people lift weights. So what does using English actually mean? It doesn't mean you have to talk to a native speaker for 30 minutes every day. Though that's great if you can. It means you need to activate what you're learning. Here are a few simple ways to do that. Repeat out loud what you hear in a podcast. Talk to yourself about your day in English. Write a short journal entry, just 3 sentences. Record your voice saying something simple like your daily routine. Summarize a video or article in your own words. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be active. Let me go back to Mai, the learner I mentioned earlier. When I asked her, "How often do you speak English?" she said, "Not really. I don't have anyone to talk to. And I'm afraid of making mistakes. That's totally normal." But then I told her this. You don't need a partner to start speaking. You can speak with yourself, with your phone, with your mirror. We started small. Every day she recorded 1 sentence about her day in English, then 2, then 5. Within a few weeks, her confidence changed. She still made mistakes, but she was speaking, and that changed everything. So if you're listening right now and thinking, "I'm studying every day, but not improving," ask yourself, am I using the English I already know? Even if it's just a little. Even if it's just to say, "Today I went to the supermarket, I bought some vegetables. It was hot." That's progress. Because fluency doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from using what you already know. Let's stop waiting for perfect English. Let's start using our imperfect English bravely, proudly, and every single day. In the next episode, we'll talk about one big fear that stops most learners from speaking and how to overcome it. Until then, keep learning and start using Part 2. You're afraid to make mistakes. In the last episode, we talked about the first big reason why many English learners don't feel like they're improving. They're learning, but not using. But today, let's talk about something even deeper and more emotional. Something that silently stops people from speaking. Even when they know the words, even when they've practiced for hours, that something is fear. More specifically, the fear of making mistakes. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a learner named Nam. He had been studying English for over 2 years. His vocabulary was pretty good. His grammar wasn't perfect, but not bad. He watched videos, read English articles, and could understand quite a bit. But every time someone asked him a simple question like, "Where are you from?" or "What do you do?" he froze. Not because he didn't understand, not because he didn't know what to say, but because he was terrified of saying it wrong, and Nam is not alone. So many learners feel the same. They worry. What if I make a mistake? What if they laugh at me? What if I sound stupid? Let me be honest with you. This fear is very real. I've seen it in my students. I've felt it myself when learning other languages. It's normal, but it's also powerful and dangerous. Why? Because fear stops you from using the language, and when you stop using it, you stop growing. Let's look at how this fear works. You try to speak. You're not sure if the sentence is right. So instead of saying anything, you say nothing. Then after the conversation, you feel frustrated. You think, I studied so much, why couldn't I speak? But the truth is, it wasn't a grammar issue. It wasn't a vocabulary issue. It was a confidence issue. Here's what I want you to understand. Mistakes are not the opposite of learning. They are learning. Every mistake you make teaches your brain something new. Every mistake is a sign that you're trying. Every mistake is a step forward. Think of a child learning their first language. They say things like, "Me go park" or "I go there." It's cute, it's wrong, but it's natural. And guess what? That's how they get better. But adults, we're afraid to look silly. We think people are judging us. We want our English to be perfect before we even use it. And that's the trap. Waiting for perfect will keep you silent forever. So what can we do? Here are a few ways to push through the fear. Change how you see mistakes. Instead of thinking, "I failed," say, "I learned." 2. Start speaking in safe spaces. Talk to yourself, record your voice, speak to a friend who supports you. Practice in places where mistakes are safe, not scary. 3. Celebrate small wins. Did you speak one full sentence today? Amazing. Did you try and forget a word? That's okay. You still tried. Confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from repetition. Back to Nam, the learner. I mentioned earlier. After we talked, he made one small change. He started recording a short voice message every morning, just 1 minute about his day. At first, he made lots of mistakes, but day by day, he grew braver. He realized, no one is listening. No one is judging. I'm just practicing. And that's when the real progress began. So, if you've been hiding behind your fear, I want to tell you something. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are supposed to make mistakes. They are not shameful. They are beautiful. They are the sound of growth. Let's stop chasing perfect English. Let's start chasing real English, the kind that's full of passion, energy, and yes, a few mistakes. Because fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave. In the next part of this series, we're going to talk about a habit that feels productive but might be secretly holding you back. Stay with me, and remember, keep learning, keep trying, and never let fear steal your voice. Part 3. You're only studying passively. In our last episode, we talked about fear, how being afraid of making mistakes can silently stop you from speaking and growing. Today we're diving into another big reason why so many English learners feel stuck even when they're studying every single day. It's this: you're only studying passively. Now, what does that mean? Let's look at an example. Have you ever done this? You put on an English YouTube video. Maybe it's a lesson, maybe it's a vlog, or maybe it's an English podcast like this one. You listen while cooking or cleaning or scrolling on your phone. It feels like you're learning. And yes, it's better than doing nothing. But here's the truth. Passive learning alone won't take you far. Passive learning means you're just taking in information. You're listening, reading, or watching, but not actively doing anything with it. And while input is important, you need to hear and see the language. It's only half of the process. The other half, active learning. That's when your brain is working, creating using what it just learned. Without that second half, the information just floats around in your brain and eventually disappears. Let me share a real example. A student of mine, Tracy, was watching English videos every day. TED Talks, grammar videos, Netflix shows with subtitles. One day she told me, "I've been watching for months, but I still feel like I can't speak." Why? So I asked her, "When was the last time you paused a video and said something out loud?" She said, "Never. I just watch." That's when it hit her. She wasn't lazy. She wasn't doing it wrong, but she was missing the active part of learning. So how do we make learning more active? Here are a few practical things you can try today. 1. Pause and repeat. While watching a video, pause after a sentence and repeat it out loud. Even better, try to say it with the same intonation and rhythm. You'll train both your ears and your mouth. Use shadowing. Listen to a short sentence and immediately try to repeat it at the same time as the speaker. It's challenging but incredibly effective. 3. Take notes in your own words. Instead of copying full sentences, write down the meaning in your own simple English. This helps you process and remember more deeply. 4. Summarize out loud. After finishing a video or article, try to explain it in your own words as if you were telling a friend. Even if you struggle, that struggle is good. That's where learning happens. Think of it this way. Imagine watching someone play piano for 1 hour. Will that make you a better pianist? No. You have to touch the keys. You have to make mistakes. You have to play. The same goes for English. You can't learn to speak just by listening. You have to speak. You can't learn to write just by reading. You have to write. And here's something important. Active learning doesn't mean more time. It means better use of your time. You can turn a 5-minute video into a powerful learning tool. If you pause, speak, write, or repeat. It's not about how many videos you watch. It's about how deeply you engage with each one. Let me go back to Tracy. Once she started pausing and repeating just for 10 minutes a day, her confidence started to grow. She told me, "Now I don't just watch, I train." And that's the difference. So today I encourage you to take just one step. The next time you listen to English, don't just sit back. Lean in, speak up. Write something. Repeat something. Make your brain work with the language. Because the more actively you train, the more naturally English becomes part of you. In the next episode, we'll talk about a mistake many learners don't even realize they're making: staying too comfortable. Yes, that comfort zone may feel safe, but it could be holding you back more than you think. Until then, keep learning. And this time, make it active. Part 4. You're not challenging yourself. Welcome back. In the last episode, we talked about passive learning and how just watching or listening isn't enough if you're not actively engaging with the language. Today, we're going to talk about something a little more uncomfortable, and that is comfort. More specifically, you're not improving because you're staying in your comfort zone. Let me explain. When you started learning English, everything felt new. New words, new sounds, new grammar. Even saying, "How are you?" felt like an adventure. But over time, you found a routine. Maybe you listen to the same podcast every day. Maybe you watch the same YouTube channels with subtitles. Maybe you always study the same way because it feels safe. And slowly, without noticing, you stopped growing. I had a student named Luis. He had been learning English for over a year. He watched English news every morning. He used flashcards. He practiced basic sentences again and again. But one day he said to me, "I feel like I'm not getting better anymore." And I asked him, "When was the last time you did something in English that felt hard?" He paused, and then he said, "I don't remember." That's when the light bulb went on. He wasn't failing. He just wasn't challenging himself anymore. You see, comfort feels good. It's safe. It's familiar. But it's also the enemy of progress. Your brain only builds new connections when it's pushed a little, not too much, just enough to feel challenged. If everything you're doing in English feels easy, you're not learning. You're just reviewing what you already know. And review is good, but it won't take you to the next level. So what does challenging yourself actually look like? It doesn't mean stress. It doesn't mean jumping from beginner to Shakespeare overnight. It means doing something that feels just a little harder than you're used to. Here are a few ideas. Read something without translations. Even if you don't understand every word, push through. Watch videos without subtitles, or use only English subtitles. No native language. Speak for 2 to 3 minutes, non-stop. Even if you struggle, don't stop. Try new topics. If you always talk about daily routines, try describing a past trip or your opinion on something. Join a live speaking group. Even if your heart races, that's the challenge you need. Remember, discomfort is a sign that growth is happening. Let me go back to Luis. After our conversation, he changed one small habit. Instead of watching English news with subtitles, he watched without subtitles, just for 5 minutes a day. At first it was hard. He missed a lot. But by the second week, he told me, "Now I understand the tone, the keywords, even if I miss some details." That small change reactivated his learning. It made English feel alive again. Here's something I want you to remember. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth happens in the stretch. If English is feeling easy, that's not a bad sign. It means it's time to level up. Don't be afraid to feel a little lost. Don't be afraid to feel a little confused. That's not failure. That's learning. So today, I challenge you. Do one thing in English that makes you just a little uncomfortable. Not scary, just stretchy. Try writing a paragraph without Google Translate. Try talking for 1 minute without stopping. Try watching a new topic you've never studied before. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to change something because your comfort zone might feel cozy. But nothing new ever grows there. In the next and final part of this series, we're going to talk about something really important. Why having no clear goal might be the biggest reason you feel stuck and how to fix it. Until then, step out of your comfort zone. Even just one step, you might be surprised how far it takes you. Part 5. You don't have a clear goal. Welcome back. If you've been following this series, we've talked about some big reasons why your English might not be improving even if you study every day. In the last episode, we looked at comfort, how staying too safe, too familiar can quietly stop you from growing. And now we've come to the final and maybe most important reason of all. You don't have a clear goal. Now, this might not sound like a big deal. You might think I'm learning English, that's the goal, right? But here's the truth. Learn English is not a goal. It's a dream, a direction, a beautiful vision. But it's too big, too vague, and that's why you feel stuck. Let me explain. Imagine you say, I want to get fit. Great. But what does that mean? Run a marathon, lose weight, build muscle, do yoga. If you don't define it, you'll end up doing random workouts and getting random results. And after a while, you'll feel like you're working hard, but going nowhere. Now replace get fit with learn English. It's the same problem. Without a clear goal, you do a little listening here, a little grammar there, maybe some reading, but you're not building anything specific. And without clear progress, your motivation fades. I had a student named Hannah. She studied English every evening, 1 hour a day. She watched videos, took notes, read articles. But after 6 months, she told me, I don't know if I'm getting better. So I asked, what exactly are you trying to do with your English right now? She paused, then said, I don't know. I just want to speak better. That's when we sat down and wrote her first real goal. By the end of next month, I want to introduce myself and talk about my job for 2 minutes without using a script. Now that is a goal. It's clear. It's measurable. It's realistic. Once she had that goal, everything changed. Her practice had purpose. She knew what to focus on. And within a few weeks, she did it. Not perfectly, but confidently. Proudly. So how do you set a clear goal? Here's a simple guide you can follow. 1. Be specific. Don't say I want to improve my English. Say I want to understand 80% of an English podcast about travel. I want to order food in a restaurant without switching to my native language. 2. Make it short term. Focus on 30 days, not 3 years. Short goals create quick wins. Quick wins build momentum. 3. Break it down. Once you know your goal, ask, what vocabulary do I need? What grammar structures should I use? What real-world practice can I do this week? 4. Track your progress. Use a journal, a checklist, or even voice recordings to measure how far you've come, because progress is happening. You just need to notice it. Now, a goal doesn't need to be big to be powerful. Even a small goal, like I will speak 1 minute every day, can change your mindset, your routine, your results. It gives your study time meaning, and it gives you a reason to keep going when motivation runs low. Here's the final thought I want to leave you with. If you're studying English every day but feel like you're not improving, it's not because you're not smart. It's not because you're too old. And it's definitely not because you're not trying hard enough. It's probably because you're missing something small but important. Something we've talked about throughout this series. You're not using what you learn. You're afraid of making mistakes. You're learning passively, not actively. You're too comfortable, not challenged. And maybe you don't have a clear goal guiding your way. But here's the good news. All of these things can be fixed. Not in one day. Not all at once. But step by step. Start speaking. Even if it's not perfect. Challenge yourself with something new. Set one goal, just one, and take the first step toward it today. Because English is not a mountain you climb alone, it's a road. You walk one word, one sentence, one story at a time. Thank you so much for joining me in this 5-part series. If this helped you, share it with a friend who's learning English too. Let's grow together. Until next time, keep learning, keep speaking, and keep believing in yourself. You're closer than you think.